Hello, good morning, and welcome to the fourth lesson in the Black Beauty series of lessons. Now, in this lesson, you're going to be reading from chapter 11 all the way up to the end of chapter 14. But first of all, just to get you thinking, we're going to do it different ways than normal, get you thinking, I'm going to talk you through the tasks to start with. Now, the first task is based on a little scene that happens in chapter 13, where James is recounting a story from when he was at school. And he remembers this boy, Bill, who used to pull the wings off flies. And when the master, the teacher basically, saw this, he was very angry and he talked to the boys, I'm going to quote now, talked to the boys very seriously about cruelty and said how hard-hearted and cowardly it was to hurt the weak and the helpless. But what stuck in my mind was this. He said that cruelty was the devil's own trademark, and if we saw anyone who took pleasure in cruelty, we might know who he belonged to, for the devil was a murderer from the beginning and a tormentor to the end. On the other hand, where we saw people who loved their neighbours and were kind to man and beast, we must know that that was God's mark, for God is love. Now, this idea about pulling the wings off flies being used as a metaphor, if you like, for treating those who you're in a position of power over in a way that you shouldn't treat them is something that actually appears quite a lot through literature. Shakespeare even uses it in King Lear. He uses the line, "As flies to wanton boys are we to the gods, they kill us for their sport." The idea that that pulling the wings off flies or killing flies is how you might act if you were cruel in a way over things that you have power over. And in this book, there's so much opportunity for humans to act in that way to the horses as well. And quite often humans do act in a very cruel way towards the horses. So what I'd like you to do after reading that is to look up what the golden rule is. And write down your best explanation of what the golden rule is. And the golden rule is to do with treating other people not based on how much power you have, but instead treating them in the way that you would like them to treat you if they were in your position. Okay, and then for chapter 14, your task is to answer the question, why did the master suddenly want to go to so many places in town and always just when the train had come in? Why did the master suddenly want to go to the busy town just when the train had come in? Okay, so you're reading to the end of chapter 14. Your tasks are to research the golden rule and to explain to me what it is and how it might relate to these flies with their wings being pulled off. And secondly, that question about why the master always wanted to go to town. Okay, so we'll pick this back up next lesson and we'll look at chapters 15 and beyond. Thanks, stay safe.